Have you ever heard animal lovers say there's no such thing as a bad dog, just bad dog owners? Well, you can borrow that phrase to describe jump scares in horror films. To date, and probably forever, jump scares remain one of the most vehemently scrutinized genre tropes, but in reality, jump scares are as integral to horror blueprints as masked killers, ridiculous sequels, and audience squeals.
Joseph?
The discourse around jump scares has become a bit extreme at times. Whether that's critics using a reliance on jump scares as a negative review point, or audiences only seeing jump scares as an ugly trope.
We're gonna seal off this movie.
Let's take a look at what makes the best jump scares work, address why they're so important to horror films, and show you one particular jump scare that's as close to perfection as they could. Oh god! Spanish filmmakers Jaume Balaguerro and Paco Plaza fit into the category of horror creators who understand precisely how to execute a hair-raising, spine-tingling jump scare with finesse. Their collaboration on the 2007 found footage masterpiece Wreck would kickstart a 4-entry franchise brimming with unfounded terror. It all begins with television reporter Angela Vidal, an overnight segment monitoring the lives of Barcelona firefighters, and a call that brings them all into an apartment complex where they're trapped inside by police and military quarantine protocols. And I should say that a good jump scare will get you time and time again, but just the same, here's a spoiler warning for the entire concept of jump scares. They're scary, we love them, and we're about to break down a lot of them, starting with Wreck. Towards the end of the film, Angela and her cameraman Pablo enter what's revealed to be a ground zero penthouse where Wreck becomes infinitely more than just another zombie flick. What starts with Angela and Pablo uncovering Vatican secrets about a contagious demonic enzyme climaxes with a pitch-perfect example of a complete jump scare experience. It starts with a tour of the apartment, leads to an obligatory and obvious jump scare setup, then delivers an immaculate punch. A 1-2-3 combo sent from hell that we'll use to exemplify what separates the best horror jump scares from the cheaper image. Oh, Jesus. An important trademark of any jump scare is visual terror. We've all endured the often overused cat jumps into frame gag, which appears and passes with a giggle afterward. It's there and gone, never remembered, except maybe in frustration.
Stupid cat!
Better jump scares aren't throwaways or fake-outs. They thrive on paralyzing imagery. Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson are no strangers to knock-em-out jump scares throughout their Scream franchise, but let's focus on Drew Barrymore's famous opening death as Casey Becker.
You like scary movies?
Not only does Craven's command allow Casey's game of telephone to become more taut and suspenseful over just about 10 minutes, but his directorial eye accentuates heaps of visual dread. At first, it's threatening glimpses like a swaying tree swing outside, or the way Casey plays with a sharp kitchen knife. Craven makes damn sure we know Casey's in danger before she even starts answering Ghostface's questions, which is met with the reveal of bound and silenced boyfriend Steve, followed by his ripped out guts. The scene builds to Ghostface's grand reveal as he whips around and crashes through a window to grab the screaming Casey. Ghostface, now characterized and immensely more terrifying because we know what he or she is capable of as a killer. Other films save their most graphic and disturbing imagery for the smash cut scare itself. Gore Verbinski's The Ring remake smacks audiences in the face with Katie's disfigured rigor mortis pose out of nowhere. Or what about the death by defibrillator scare in John Carpenter's The Thing, when Copper gets his arm bitten off by a chest cavity with jagged teeth? These might clock in as mere glimpses, but these aren't afterthoughts. These are primetime scares that keep audiences on edge, waiting for the next assault. Wreck maximizes whatever time is spent in the apartment complex's penthouse, locked away by a Vatican agent lost to his unholy mission. That's what stirs the earliest tingles of uncomfortability within us, even though there's no immediate antagonist. Pablo's camera zooms on photos of children holding rosary beads, their eyes scratched out with a bladed edge. Newspaper and magazine clippings about a Portuguese girl's exorcism become the penthouse's wallpaper. The further Angela and Pablo push, the more ominous the imagery becomes. Syringes in rust-colored water, chairs with undone restraints. Everything we learn about Tristana Medeiros through the penthouse's collected records on display, it's all meant to make us feel worse and worse about staying in the penthouse. And then the attic hatch flies open, forcing Pablo to hoist the camera into the darkness just to glimpse what could be scampering above.
Pablo, por favor, baja la cámara de ahí. Se oyen cosas muy raras, hostia.
Frightening imagery lays a solid foundation for any jump scare, but it's how editors and directors allow nightmare photography to reach audiences that enhances reactions. Editing plays a massive role in what we're allowed to see. How the camera cuts away at the precise time, then jumps back to something that wasn't present before. The best scares key into the rhythm of edits that keep audiences on pins and needles just long enough. In 2017, an Argentinian horror film called Terrified dared to build an entire feature around the idea that jump scares are still supremely effective in the right hands. Writer and director Damien Rugna isn't shy about diluting the genre to its core tropes and executes with aggressively focused precision. The best scare involves an older man looking out his window across the street at a figure in another house. The man, standing near the central bar dividing two larger windows, leans back and forth, left and right, but can only see a vaguely human outline through his window's left side. The game of There and Gone extends a bit as Rugna tests our patience with editing that jumps not only between window panes, but a phone conversation that the old man is having. A jolt is no doubt on the horizon, and we're going to get hit with a jump scare, but neither us nor the old man knows when. Brilliant editing draws suspense like grains of sand sliding through an hourglass one by one. Finally, the old man leans left one last time, sees the shape, and leans into the right, where nothing usually exists. Although, for every rule, there's an exception. In this case, found footage movies might opt to sell long takes without interruption instead of meticulously edited sequences. Oren Peli does this to perfection in Paranormal Activity towards the end when Micah meets his fate. We know Katie is possessed by now. We watch her lumber downstairs after standing bedside over Micah for too damn long. Then the screaming starts. For roughly 35 seconds, we have no answers, as the stationary camera aimed at Katie and Micah's bedroom door stays fixated on the nearly pitch-black doorway. All we hear are thudding footsteps that could be Katie, could be Micah, or could be the invisible presence tormenting them both. Then, after the footsteps cease and our hearts are leaping out of our throats, Micah's body is hurled at the camera and the tripod tumbles over, our view now angled upward at a slanted Katie, shirt bloodied like a butcher, standing in the doorway.
I'm surprisingly not as excited as you, considering I'm the one that's being terrified.
In both instances, editing plays a massive part in keeping the tempo steady. Terrified uses editing to ping-pong between disturbing and safe viewpoints until marrying them both just when we can't bear the playful ruse anymore. Paranormal Activity does the opposite by choosing to make you wait, and wait, and wait, and just when you can't wait anymore, a Micah torpedo cuts through the silence with a well-timed injection of thrills. What Rec accomplishes is a rare union of both methods. As Angela and Pablo explore the penthouse, the camera's lens passes from up-close inspections of ominous artifacts and news reports on the wall, then to larger spaces, like open doorways into other areas. There's a battle of perspectives going on, but it's not intensely edited because the illusion is that Pablo hasn't put the camera down throughout at all. All of the Madero's backstory seediness and stealthy penthouse exploration are the preamble before Balaguero and Plaza punch us with their coup de grace jump scare. Like in Paranormal Activity, we know something bad is about to happen. Also like in Paranormal Activity, Balaguero and Plaza wait until the last possible second to spike our adrenaline. Pablo carefully spins the camera for about 20 seconds worth of Angela's pleading not to provoke whatever could be up there making strange noises. It's all about timing and confidence on the part of the filmmakers, knowing the scare you're about to deliver will terrify whether audiences know it's there or not. A proper jump scare isn't just about something unexpected happening that throws you off guard. As the wise man reading this narration once said, hey, it's me. A jump scare is like the punchline to a joke. You need a proper context for the scare to mean something more than a quick high. It's why I return to the black cat jump scare that so many films think is cheeky fun, but are often just cheap ploys out of nowhere to score some easy fright points. There's no lead-in, no table setting, and frankly, no foreplay. In the examples we've covered already, from Casey Becker's extensive quiz show conversation with Ghostface to Katie's thud up her home steps, there's extensive momentum building done to prepare audiences for something worth fearing.
Halloween!
Anyone can throw a skeleton into the frame like walking through a Halloween maze. But horror as a genre is so much more effective and affecting when valued through storytelling, visual or narrative. The perfect jump scare isn't about fleeting seconds. It's a complicated dance that crescendos before a body smashes into the camera lens or a possessed child howls in your face. James Wan has emerged as one of the premier horror voices as a writer, director, and producer since his overnight notoriety thanks to 2004's Saw.
I want to play a game.
Movies like Dead Silence and Insidious are crammed with all the spookiness horror fans love. But the hide and clap scare in The Conjuring is on a pedestal. It'd be one thing if Carolyn Perrin went into her home's basement and was startled by clappy hands. As you all probably know, that's hardly what Mr. Wan orchestrates. It starts with a clap. Carolyn hears the noise and investigates, and we follow behind via the camera's perspective.
Who is that?
The sound of a sliding chair can be heard in an adjacent room, which keeps Carolyn moving. A creak sneaks from the hallway, which causes Carolyn to turn around. We haven't even descended downstairs, and yet Juan already has us in the palm of his hand as Carolyn grows more anxious. It only gets worse as Carolyn reaches for an overhead light at the basement stairwell platform, then the remaining lights leading downstairs. The score cuts through natural midnight silence, which only intensifies the palpable tension as Carolyn leans to peek at the main basement light swaying side to side. It's Horror 101 escalation, done so right you can't help but respect Juan's ability to nail the fundamentals. It's all part of the many acts in this elaborate jump scare architecture, hitting us with the door slam scare like a fake out. Carolyn crashes into a wall as composer Joseph Bishara slams miscellaneous piano keys with authority. Carolyn is now surrounded by antique furniture draped in cloth to protect from grime as we count the hiding places where evil can pop from under or around. Yet it's another tempered scare when a toy ball comes bouncing into view like out of The Changeling. Juan is still torturing us, tying the noose tighter and tighter. Carolyn lights a matchstick, but neither she nor we can see past her hands. It's all so devious and well thought out by Wan, who goes way above the spooky Call of Duty to ensure his ultimate payoff hits with emphasis. The match burns out. Carolyn lights another. "Hey, wanna play hide and clap?" can be heard like an echo.
Hey, wanna play hide and clap?
And then two hands reach from absolute nothingness to clap twice right next to Carolyn's face, hitting that unforgettable punchline. Wan does what many others have, but so well it makes a near-perfect example. From David F. Sandberg's Lights Out to William Friedkin's The Exorcist, Stephen Cognetti's Hell House LLC to Brian De Palma's Carrie, standout filmmakers continue to treat jump scares like a 4-course meal instead of a junk food snack. Without taking atmosphere, sound design, lighting, original scoring, and many other factors into consideration, your jump scare just won't have the same toothsome bite. Belligaro and Plaza adhere to the tenets of setting up a proper jump scare with the same gusto as Wan. The whole scare package, from when Angela and Pablo enter the penthouse to the unholy child, clocks in around 6 minutes. There's a breath of false comfort upon entry because all the possessed residents are locked outside. But then it's about the slow realization that Angela and Pablo are in the belly of the beast. It starts minimal by reading classified information, looking at pictures, and a general sensation of discomfort. Every line of text grows more ominous as the Vatican's cover-up is exposed. Then, Angela turns on a tape recorder that provides exposition, atop which should clue a reporter and her cameraman into the immediate danger they neglect to acknowledge. Not long after that line, the hatch swings open and we're subjected to a fake-out scare that rattles our resolve before Pablo sacrifices his camera for the jump scare waiting above. Should Angela and Pablo have entered the penthouse, walked right to an open house, and met the demon test subject without any of that buildup? We might yelp and maybe feel a chill, but with all that other preparation, it's like the jump scare marinates in fear and dread to enhance its horror flavors. What's a burger without the bun, toppings, cheese, or sauce? Sauce on a burger? Ketchup counts as a sauce. Point is, what's a jump scare without the elongated suspense, deceptive edits, and withheld eruption until the very last possible second? With the rise of masterfully moody slashers like Black Christmas and Halloween came an eventual wave of TNA horror that only cared about sleazy exploitation.
Wow, what a talent.
Thanks to the overnight popularity of found footage masterworks like the Blair Witch Project and Paranormal Activity, many other filmmakers took the wrong message and believed found footage to be a cheap point-and-shoot workaround that requires little technical skill to accomplish. When something works, it will be copied. It's the law of trends. Shortcuts in movie making, desperate to replicate without understanding whys and hows, mean wrong lessons are learned. And in return, the jump scare trope was born. Like, one last time, that damned cat leaping into frame instead of a slasher killer. Or the telegraphed scare from a mile away with no creativity. Jump scares are a legacy pillar in horror filmmaking. To say all jump scares are garbage is unattentive and short-sighted. And to abolish their usage is to handicap the horror genre in a way that would be too harmful to repair.
Holy shit, it's Ghostface!
In Rec, and all throughout the next 3 franchise entries, Jean Balaguerro and Paco Plaza display what makes the perfect jump scare. Imagery emphasizes capital H horror, technical aspects hit their cues, and the setup is just as thrilling as the finisher. That is what the general public should think about when they hear the phrase jump scare. May this video just be one small step forward for jump scare appreciation. And one giant leap for horror conservation that protects what good exists out there, not to be trampled underfoot by the imitators clamoring to steal the spotlight from those that deserve it most of all.